Coach Rob, what's happening? How we doing, man? I'll tell you
Hey,
what. If you're gonna get me up this early, I'm gonna have to get a makeup artist or something. This is rough for me out here on the West Coast, bro.
well, I really appreciate it. Today's my son's 22nd birthday, and he came down from Gainesville. He's spent some time at the beach with his friends the last couple of days, and I promised him I would take him to breakfast. So thanks for working us in early, and it's good to see you, especially after a pretty big weekend, both on TV and behind the scenes. It's been busy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, we got to catch up a little bit. You got us banned off YouTube, Rob.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin with this. I mean, I had a gentleman, if you follow me on Facebook, I had a guy who's pretty plugged into these different platforms and stuff. And he was very diplomatic about exactly what you and I asked for. The guy had a good point. He goes, hey, what gives you the right to voice your opinion when they don't agree with you? He says, go start your own platform. And I thought about that for a little bit. And I thought, well, my first take is, wasn't that free speech? And then I thought, well, no, because that is held by somebody. I know myself, if somebody, and you and I have talked about this, if somebody puts a disparaging comment up, I mean, if it's like totally visceral, yeah, we'll delete it because we're not worth engaging. But if there's some disagreement in opinions, we don't just go and delete every one of them. We don't we only want to talk and engage with people who agree with us. And that's what I said back to the gentleman on Facebook, because I said, have you even listened to the show yet? Of course, he said no. Because he saw my caption on YouTube or Facebook talking about why do we get censored? All we were talking about was a workaround. And then his whole thing was, well, you don't have the right to be on a platform, and if they disagree with you. And I thought, well, I guess he's right to an extent, but where's that finite balance on it's okay to disagree, which is all we were really talking about. And more importantly, here's the workaround. So
Well, and you
it's
can't.
interesting.
That's where it gets really tricky, and that's where they've been. Zuckerberg's been in front of Congress arguing this.
Yeah.
Is it a open platform, or is it a? Because then if they're going to censor us now, if something slides through, well, you're responsible because you've just admitted that you censor it. So it's a sticky subject there. So if they're going to censor it now, if something gets through, you're responsible if somebody says something horrible. So it's a double-edged sword if they want to censor that thing.
No, I totally agree there. Here's the thing that I look at, and this we're living in a time where change happens pretty damn quickly. And we talked a lot about it on the show that was actually clipped. And that is, things are going to change. And I said it in the last show, and I'll say it again. To me, the macroeconomic wheel will prevail. So in this case, if they're going to censor what we say, I don't see us saying that we want to, I was going to say something pretty rude. I won't say that. We're not endorsing bad behavior. We're not endorsing, things that I could say, yep, we have a reason to be censored. What I will say is, if you're going, all of our listeners, any content providers, you're going to force us to go to different platforms. And we all know eventually, I mean, if you've watched or listened to anything about Google says they don't censor. And then the people that have come out as a whistleblower saying, here's this blacklist. If you put in Google certain keywords, they redirect the narrative, right? Well, you can complain about it. We'll go start a new Google platform, to this gentleman's point that he pointed me out on Facebook. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that, again, the catalyst for change is never a bad thing. It's frustrating because nobody likes change, but that's going to be incredible. Now, where I get a little bit concerned, I don't care if you're on the conservative side or the liberal side, the side independent. What I would love, and we're never going to get it. Anybody who thinks you can get it is crazy. How about we just get a platform that truly allows everybody's differing opinions, not starting to slate and redirect the narrative, which is what you're seeing with Google, what you're seeing with Facebook. If you disagree, they censor you. If you disagree, they put you in Facebook jail. That's not cool. You know what I mean?
And I want to thank our buddy James Jetmar for pointing me toward a new site called Rumble.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know much about Rumble, but I created us an account.
Okay, good.
And I posted up the band video. So if you want to see it, go to Rumble. Just download that app. You can also get the audio if you watch these on YouTube. You can always get the audio on iTunes, Spotify. It's still up over there.
Under Cooksey and the Coach.
Yep, under Cooksey and the Coach. But we have lots of platforms. And speaking of, the way I took a lot of heat for my take on Jeff Emig. And, Jeff, I've known Jeff for quite a while, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jeff and what he's done. I mean, this guy's a Supercross champion. This is a guy that when I was racing amateurs and he would do an interview at Loretta Lynn's, he stuttered so bad, everyone felt bad for him. It was a bad speech impediment. And the fact that he's turned around and become one of the best announcers, because I didn't argue, he did an amazing job. And I was like, I thought about it for a bit, and I was like, okay, I got to shut this down quickly. No, I disagree with him stepping in, and I stand by that. And I think that was a bad move. And I told Jeff that, but I don't want that to be personal. It's not a personal vendetta against Jeff. We can agree to disagree. I have a different background than him. Maybe he grew up in a family where unions didn't do good, or everybody has different opinions and different places they come from. And while I disagree with his opinion and I stand by, I don't think he should have jumped in there. I got nothing but love for Jeff. So, and I wanted to make sure that I let him know it's just about the topic, and it's okay. We don't have to go personal, people.
Well, think about it this way: for the some of the listeners that are our age, we still have an appreciation for what Jeff accomplished on the track, dethroning McGrath, and all of the things. I still remember the day that he rolled out in the all black shift gear. I'll never forget that day as long as I live, because I remember thinking to myself, boy, that's a statement. It's 190 degrees out, middle of the summer, and he's out in black shift gear. Like, I'm here to make a statement. And that day he did. I have nothing but utmost respect for him. I've been able to, when the Toyota Moving Forward program came together, Toyota flew me out. We were at Ponca. Jeff emceed it. That was the first time I got a chance to meet Jeff. Jeff, think about it. When that was happening, Jeff was he was known as the racer, not as the commentator. And the reason why I'm going down this thread of thought is, for those of us who remember when Jeff overcame that speech impediment, you cannot help but think about the amount of pressure he's under. He's got his voice in one ear. He's got the producer in his other ear. That's a lot of pressure. And I don't know about you, but get into a high pressure situation, I find myself losing words, losing my train of thought. And Jeff just is seamless. And then it allows him to be able to bring out that racing experience. He does a great job bantering during the show. He doesn't over talk. He does, you know what I mean? It's ironic that you bring the speech impediment up, because I just said to Michaela yesterday when we were watching, I said, you notice how polished Jeff's speaking is? And she looked at me like, yeah, well, it's not like he's 11 years old and lacks vocabulary. I said, no. What's amazing is I remember listening to him stuttering, trying to do an interview. And because I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Keith McCarty that at Yamaha that took him and I think they put him through some kind of a program to help him address that. I don't hold me to it, but I think it was Keith McCarty at Yamaha. But to watch Jeff get more and more comfortable being in front of a camera, and now he's a live broadcaster. How freaking awesome is that?
Well, yeah, that just shows you take a weakness and make it a strength. And if you heard him in the 89 at Loretta Lynn's when I was there, I remember going, whoa, this is going to be bad when this guy makes the pros and wins a Supercross, because he can't talk.
Yeah.
But it was, and I just stuttered right there.
See, here's why I have a man crush. Here's why I have a man crush on Emig, because I respect anybody who can overcome adversity. And I think about, we joke a lot about this. Tim Ferry is the most successful second place guy in history, behind Ricky Carmichael, right? So it's kind of like, look at Jeff Emig. He's up there against McGrath. And you think about that generation. You're literally talking 20 guys, because we had factory teams that had 3 and 4. I mean, there were big factory teams.
Jeff Larry Emig Ward, Doug Henry, Sebastian Tortelli.
I mean, look at that. And if you go through each one of those colors, 2, 3, 4 riders, everybody was busting their ass. Nobody took anything for granted. It's like Jeff had to bust through this glass ceiling, and then he had to bust through this glass ceiling. And it wasn't about, racing against you and I. You're talking about Jeremy McGrath. You're talking about, like you say, all those badass dudes. And Jeff did it. And then he overcame a speech impediment, and then got freaking shafted on this TV deal. And now he's back on the TV. I mean, one adversity after. I mean, I picture somebody at 100, the 100-meter hurdles. How many more hurdles can this guy knock down? You know what I mean? He's one
quite a
hell of a
few.
fighter, hell of a
Well, and
fighter.
that's why I felt bad, because not necessarily that I went after him for that topic, because I still stand by that position, but I just don't want it to become personal because I have a differing of opinion, and I was just like, agree to disagree, and then
Yeah.
that's it, and that's where we leave it,
Well, let's not leave it for just a second. Let's leave the idea that we know that Jeff's a badass on and off the track. He's a hell of a person as a person and as a racer. I think he's fantastic. I always enjoy being around Jeff. The one thing that we go back to with the Jeff and the Grant Langston situation is that second video that GL put out talks about, hey, I'm getting ready to go to the airport. I've already tested negative, and I'm essentially being told, don't bother coming because we've already filled your spot.
Decisions are made. You don't even know who to call half the time because everyone's doing this. No, he made the call. He made the call. So after that phone call, I was thinking, well, that's really strange. But then after the call the previous day saying I needed this negative test, I think, the alarm bell started going off that, something's going on. Well, I went and had my test, and it takes a few minutes before they notify you. So I'd come home, and by this point, I'm like, I got to find out what's going on. I got to head out to the airport here shortly. So I ended up calling a few people that I thought were involved, and nobody answered their phone. So then I'm sitting there going, well, I'm just going to send a group text and say, basically, like, I'm hearing rumors, because then I heard a rumor that came from a whole different part of the equations, from someone that wasn't even involved in the series. And I was thinking, I feel like everybody but me knows about this decision.
So I don't want this show to go down that conversation. We did it last time, and we expand, but I just find it very interesting. There's a couple other talking shows that said, oh, he didn't test negative. That's why he wasn't invited. That's not true. Go listen to it from GL's mouth.
Yes.
But if you want to continue to spin the narrative to try to defend those that you get a paycheck from, okay, I get it. I'm not naive, but don't make GL to be out to be the bad guy when you're trying to make fun of him, saying, oh, everybody's saying he should get a Purple Heart. He didn't go fight. Stop. GL stood his grounds. That's all those innuendos are insinuating there. But this idea that you're saying he didn't test negative and that's why he was replaced is not true. The timeline that GL himself articulated invalidates these accusations that you're making, that GL, and I'm going to, because I've received a text from somebody, because I don't listen to the other shows. The comment was, people have lost their fucking minds. Well, people haven't lost their fucking minds. What people are confused about is, how can GL do such a good job? He gets ostracized for what he believes in. And then all of a sudden, now the narrative has been changed that he was belligerent, he was going to quit anyways, he was burnt. Oh, that's a nice redirect of the subject. The subject was, he was replaced before he even got on an airplane and tested negative. Now you want to turn the narrative that, he was disgruntled, he was pissed, he was burnt out. That's a great deflection of the issue. Fucking stop. Go listen to GL's videos. He tells it, comes from the horse's mouth. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he was burnt out. But that was not why he got replaced on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever day he was. No, it was Wednesday, because he was supposed to fly out and do that combine thing, which is another thing I find interesting. As GL said, would you donate your time to work with the riders? Wow. Multi-time world champion. And you can't even add a few dollars to help him, or, for his services. Can you donate your time? I'm sure GL would do it because he's a hell of a dude, but it's just amazing to me.
Yeah. And for those that think, I'll just say this, there's a master of spin in Davey Coombs, and the way he got the photo op and made it cool with GL, he is a great politician. I'll give him that. He's really hard not to like. But if you want to tell me that at Loretta Lynn's, when Jeff Emig's the darling and they're hanging out, and we both know that there had been issues with Grant being burned out before then, as an employer, if I'm Davey, I say, hey, you might want to contact the producer because we don't know what GL may do. So of course they set that up. Of course they had it ready to go. Did they plan on it going immediately? I don't know how it all went down. But of course, I mean, I do side with an employer. If I have an employee who threatens to quit, what do? I'm going to look for a backup. So, I mean, there's two sides to that.
How about just, hey, Chris, I hear you're getting kind of burnt out. Is there something we can do? Do you need to leave for the sake of your family? This is where dialogue just is lost in our generation. It's like, oh, well, I've heard from so-and-so who so-and-so said that you're burnt out. So guess what? I'm just going to axe you, and I'm going to do it real diplomatically. I'm just going to freaking slide somebody in and then let you find out through a series of text message. I'm just regurgitating and paraphrasing what GL said. I wasn't there. I'm just going off of what GL said. But the way it was handled, like you said, if you're a CEO of a company or a C-suite or an executive decision maker, and you hear an employee's not happy, you don't just slide somebody in a spot and then say, oh, by the way, don't come in tomorrow. You go and you try to see what you can do to help. At least that's what I would assume would happen.